If you saw my short about being too nice, this is the deeper explanation. Why kind people are easily manipulated. Kind people are not weak, but they are often the easiest to manipulate, not because they lack strength, not because they lack intelligence, but because they assume everyone thinks like they do, and that assumption is where the problem begins. If you've ever been used, drained, guilt-tripped, or taken advantage of, even though your intentions were pure, this video is for you. Today, we're breaking down why kind people get manipulated and how to stop it without losing your kindness. The dangerous assumption kind people believe in good intentions. When someone apologizes, you believe them. When someone explains, you understand them. When someone struggles, you excuse them. But manipulators study this. They notice you don't like conflict. You give second chances. You feel guilty easily. You explain yourself too much. Kindness becomes predictable, and predictability is easy to control. You see honesty as normal. They see it as an opportunity. That's the first reason kind people get manipulated. They project their own heart onto others. Kindness without boundaries. There's a difference between kindness and the fear of disappointing people. Many kind people are actually afraid to say no, be misunderstood, be disliked, be called selfish. So they overgive. They say yes when they're tired. They stay silent when they're hurt. They tolerate disrespect to keep the peace. Manipulators don't attack strength directly. They test boundaries quietly, small favors, small guilt trips, small emotional pressure. And if you don't resist early, they go further. Kindness without boundaries becomes permission. 3 signs you're being manipulated. Let's get practical. Here are 3 signs. 1, you constantly feel guilty even when you did nothing wrong. They say things like, after all I've done for you, you've changed. I guess I just care more. They make you responsible for their emotions. And because you're kind, you carry it. 2, you're always the one adjusting. You understand them. You forgive them. You compromise. But they rarely do the same. If you're always shrinking to maintain the relationship, that's not balance. That's control. 3, you feel drained after interactions. Kindness should not feel like exhaustion. If every interaction leaves you mentally tired, confused, or doubting yourself, something is off. Your body often recognizes manipulation before your mind does. Why manipulators target kind people? Manipulators avoid people with strong boundaries. They look for empathy, patience, high tolerance, fear of confrontation. Kind people are emotionally intelligent. But emotional intelligence without assertiveness becomes vulnerability. It's not that you're weak, it's that you're predictable. They know you will forgive, you will understand, you won't explode, and that safety makes you an easy target. How to stay kind without being used. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to become harsh. You need boundaries. Here's how. Pause before saying yes. Let people sit with discomfort. Stop over-explaining your decisions. Say no without adding 5 paragraphs. Real kindness includes yourself. If your kindness excludes you, it's self-neglect. Strong kindness is calm, it's firm, it's clear, and it does not beg to be understood. Kind people are powerful, but power without awareness attracts control. Stay kind. Just stop being predictable. And if this message resonated with you, subscribe, because we're building strength without losing softness. Why kind people are easily manipulated. Here's a bold truth most people are afraid to say. Some of the kindest people are the easiest to control. Not because they're weak, not because they're foolish, but because they care. Have you ever said yes when your whole body wanted to say no? Have you ever apologized for something that wasn't even your fault? Have you ever helped someone again and again only to realize you were the only one sacrificing? If you have, this video might change your life. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a woman, let's call her Ada. Ada was known as the good one. At work, she stayed late to help everyone finish their tasks. In her family, she was the peacemaker. In friendships, she was always available. But here's what no one saw. Ada was exhausted. People started assuming she would handle everything. They stopped asking, they just expected. When she finally tried to say no, they acted shocked. Some even called her selfish, and that's when it hit her. She wasn't being appreciated, she was being used. If that sounds even slightly familiar, stay with me. Because today, we're going to unpack why kind people are easily manipulated, and more importantly, how to stop it without losing your kindness. This isn't about becoming cold, it's not about becoming harsh, it's about becoming wise. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 3 hidden traits that make kind people targets, the 5 manipulation tactics people use, and a simple 1 boundary framework that protects your kindness without turning you into someone you're not. And I promise, this will feel like a conversation with a trusted friend. No psychology jargon, no complicated theories, just real talk. Let's begin. Part 1, the truth about kindness. First, let's clear something up. Kindness is powerful. The world needs more kind people. You make life softer, safer, brighter. But kindness without boundaries, that's vulnerability. Here's the problem: many kind people confuse being kind with being available, or agreeable, or self-sacrificing. But those are not the same thing. Kindness says, I care about you. Manipulation whispers, then prove it. And that's where things start to go wrong. Let me ask you something. When someone is upset, do you immediately feel responsible to fix it? When someone is disappointed, do you feel guilty? When someone is angry, do you panic and try to calm them, even if they're wrong? That emotional reflex right there, that's one of the reasons kind people are easily manipulated. Let's break it down. Part 2, the 3 traits that make kind people easy targets. We're starting with the 3 traits, because once you see them, you can't unsee them. Trait 1, high empathy. You feel deeply. When someone tells you they're struggling, you don't just hear it, you feel it. And manipulators know this. They use emotional storytelling. They exaggerate hardship. They position themselves as victims. Not always consciously, but effectively. And because you're empathetic, you rush in to help. You don't pause to ask, is this person taking responsibility for their situation? Am I the only one always solving this? Empathy without discernment becomes self-sacrifice, and self-sacrifice without limits becomes exploitation. Trait 2, fear of disappointing others. Be honest. Does the thought of someone being upset with you make you uncomfortable? Kind people often tie their identity to being the good one. So when someone says, I thought you cared, I guess I'll just handle it myself. Wow, you've changed. It hits hard. You start doubting yourself. And instead of asking, is this fair? You ask, am I being mean? That's manipulation's favorite doorway, guilt. Trait 3, seeing the good in everyone. This one sounds beautiful, and it is. But it can also blind you. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, kind people often say, they didn't mean it, they're just stressed. They've had a hard life, maybe. But patterns matter more than excuses. When you excuse repeated behavior, you teach people how to treat you. Let that sink in. Part 3, the 5 manipulation tactics kind people fall for. Now let's get practical. These are the 5 common manipulation tactics you need to recognize, not to become paranoid, but to become aware. 1. Guilt tripping. If you really cared, you would. That sentence alone has pressured millions of people into doing things they didn't want to do. Guilt tripping works because kind people don't want to hurt others. But here's a quick reframe. If someone has to make you feel guilty to get what they want, that's not healthy influence, that's control. 2. Playing the victim. Some people live in permanent crisis mode. Every week there's a new emergency. And somehow, you're always the solution. You lend money, you give time, you rearrange your schedule. But notice something. Do they ever change? Or are you just their comfort cushion? Support is beautiful. Enabling is dangerous. 3. Silent treatment. This one is subtle but powerful. You say no, they withdraw, they go cold, they ignore you. And because you value connection, the silence feels unbearable. So what do? You fix it, you apologize. Even when you did nothing wrong. Silence becomes a weapon. 4. Flattery before a favor. You're the only one I can trust. You're so responsible. You're different from everyone else. And then comes the request. Manipulators often build you up to cash in later. Kind people love feeling appreciated. And there's nothing wrong with that. But appreciation that only appears before a favor, that's strategy. 5. Gradual escalation. This is the most dangerous one. It starts small. Can you help me with this one thing? Then it grows. Before you know it, you're overcommitted, overwhelmed, and wondering how you got here. Manipulation is rarely loud, it's incremental, like a slow leak in a tire. Part 4, why you don't notice it. Here's the part most people don't talk about. You don't notice manipulation because you're focused on being good. You're asking, how can I help? How can I be understanding? How can I keep peace? But rarely, is this mutual? Is this balanced? Am I being respected? Kind people often measure their value by how needed they are. But being needed is not the same as being valued. Read that again. Part 5, the one boundary framework that changes everything. Now here's the solution. Not 10 complicated rules, just one framework. The pause, check, choose method. Simple, powerful, transformative. Step 1, pause. When someone makes a request, don't answer immediately. Say, "Let me think about it. I'll get back to you." This tiny pause breaks automatic compliance. It gives you space. Step 2, check. Ask yourself 3 questions. Do I genuinely want to do this? Do I have the capacity? Would this person do something similar for me? Not because relationships are transactions, but because healthy relationships are reciprocal. Step 3, choose. Now decide consciously. If it's a yes, give it freely. If it's a no, say it calmly, without over-explaining, without defending your humanity. Just, "I can't commit to that right now." Notice, you didn't attack. You didn't justify excessively. You didn't apologize for existing. That's strength. Part 6, quick win demo. Let's do a quick scenario. Someone says, "Can you help me move this weekend?" Old response, "Yeah, sure, I guess." New response, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." Pause, check, choose. You just protected your time without being rude. That's the shift. Part 7, kindness with a backbone. Here's what you need to understand deeply. Boundaries don't make you less kind. They make your kindness sustainable. Without boundaries, kindness becomes resentment, and resentment quietly destroys relationships. The strongest, kind people are not the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who say yes intentionally. They don't fear being disliked. They fear betraying themselves. Part 8, if you're afraid people will leave. This fear is real. What if they think I've changed? What if they stop liking me? What if I lose them? Let me ask you something gently. If someone only stays in your life because you overextend yourself, were they really there for you? Healthy people respect boundaries. Manipulative people resist them. So when you start setting boundaries, you might lose some people. But what you gain, peace, energy, self-respect, and relationships built on mutual care. Part 9, you are not weak, you are predictable. Remember the bold statement from the beginning? Kind people aren't weak, they're predictable. If someone knows guilt works on you, they'll use guilt. If someone knows silence scares you, they'll withdraw, change the pattern. The manipulation stops working. Part 10, final thoughts, a new definition of kindness. Kindness is not self-abandonment. Kindness is not compliance. Kindness is not absorbing everyone else's chaos. True kindness includes you. It includes your limits, your time, your emotional capacity. Imagine a version of you who helps freely, not fearfully, says no without shaking, chooses relationships that feel balanced. That version isn't cold. That version is grounded. And you don't need to become someone else to get there. You just need awareness and small, consistent shifts. Closing. If this resonated, take one small action today. Just one. Pause before your next automatic yes. That's it. Because the moment you stop being easy to manipulate, you don't lose your kindness. You finally protect it. And the world doesn't need less kind people. It needs kind people who are strong. If this helped you, share it with someone who gives too much. And remember, you can be warm and still have boundaries. You can be kind and still say no. And that balance, that's power.